The Soviet Union is experiencing a second revolution. The issues of perestroika, economic change, glasnost, openness, and nationalism dominate all others. In the spring of 1989, 2 Americans experienced this new Soviet revolution, perhaps like none before them. They became the first Western journalists permitted to work for Soviet television. The following is an account of their 6 weeks inside the USSR.
Later, when we looked at these pictures together, photographer Richard Crabbe and I agreed this was our nicest day in Soviet Georgia. Martial law had been lifted, the really vicious troop units were gone, so the little parks around Tbilisi had reopened. Children were laughing again. What sweet music. It was as though God had decreed that without guilt we could all forget the bad for a while. And there'd been really good times for us in the Soviet Union. We'll share them with you. Yes, this was the nicest day, but not the most memorable. Natia Bolshilashvili was a pretty girl when she was alive, but a week-long coma followed by death had left her body discolored and bloated. Natia was an unknown 16-year-old in life. Now in this warm April afternoon, her funeral was tens of thousands of people long. The city of Tbilisi was making available a plot in an ancient honored cemetery. Words were spoken here about Natia that I'm sure are repeated still. She would not be forgotten by Georgia. And for us, an American television team, Natia's funeral would be permanently etched in our memories too. Her best friend Nino spoke for all.
Natia was my best friend, and I loved her as my sister. And I don't know it. How can I forget it during all my life?
Bear with us as we explain this tragedy by returning to Natia's wake earlier in the day. What a haunting scene. Her family's living room seemed to transport us deep into the Middle Ages, especially when Mrs. Bolshilashvili spoke to her dead daughter.
Oh, Natia, everybody knows you. It's so hard for me, Natia.
All of Georgia knew Natia because she had died as a result of the April 9th massacre in Tbilisi. But her death was different from the others. Natia Bolshilashvili was killed with a chemical weapon. A soldier knocked her down, sprayed the chemical in her face, and a week later she was dead. Such an obscene weapon used on a peaceful civilian, a high school girl at that, had shocked the little republic to its core, and the tragedy wasn't over yet. As the procession started, a woman began to wail. Her son had died the night before. Chemical death number 2. The 2 chemical weapon deaths raised the official massacre toll to 21. And with local hospitals jammed with more than 1,000 gas victims, Georgia was bursting with grief, seething with rage. Richard captured both of these with one picture. Look into this man's eyes. We made a vow to these eyes. Fate has placed us here with you. We're here to tell your story.
Eye of the storm. 6 weeks in the Soviet Union.
Good evening. I'm Simeon Smith. There are 15 republics in the Soviet Union. One of them is Georgia, and that's where we were assigned to work. Our job was to make feature television reports in Russian, which I speak. But after about 2 weeks, a near revolution broke out in the capital city of Tbilisi. The Soviet army perpetrated a massacre, and of course our job changed. During the next hour, you'll see all that we saw over there, a view of the Soviet Union never before afforded a Western television audience.
Eye of the Storm is sponsored in part by Hyatt Hotels Atlanta, airport, downtown, and at the perimeter. We are proud to be a part of the USA-USSR Journalist Exchange.
Придумали столько наград. Их пристроить не на всякую грудь.
As you'll see, music videos are immensely popular in the Soviet Union. This one, though widely discussed, is rarely shown. No wonder. The song is entitled "Мы," in English, "We." It presents harsh reality. The lyrics say basically, we filled our leaders' chests with medals. Our leaders pointed the way and we followed unswervingly. We built our world as they directed, such a long journey over so many years. Now it's all coming undone. We are to undo it. Are we going backwards now, or is this the way forwards? There's the question we, every Soviet, must answer.
Так долго строили зря.
April 7th, and the question of forward or backward is tearing at the political fabric of Georgia. Thousands in Tbilisi want to move the republic forward, even to independence from the Soviets. Communist leaders say it's a move backward towards anarchy. The blue-clad Georgia militia refuses to react harshly against its countrymen, so communist leaders call in the army. Tanks and troops set up command posts, one at our employer, the television station. Demonstrators have gathered here to protest the news blackout. The rest of the republic has been told nothing of the strike paralyzing Tbilisi. The broadcast chairman remains reluctant to air the truth. Glasnost is one thing, revolt another. He'll be held responsible if news of the situation only worsens it. He sees a slim chance to pass the buck, and we make history. Let me hear the track. Have you laid the track in?
No, I stopped at that.
Oh, yeah. Leave about 3 seconds or so, for them to walk. We, the two Americans, are told to file the first and only demonstration story the Georgian people will be permitted to witness.
In that case, I would write.
We get help and a bit more.
Вот меня интересует его позиция, его отношение ко всему, что он видел.
Да.
Я могу посмотреть, прочитать.
Очень neutralny. Я обещаю вам. For 2 days, Mark, a station administrator, has accompanied us as we shot demonstration developments.
Я думаю, что вы сняли хороший материал.
Да, очень хороший.
И надеюсь,
Richard снимал все. Now he's here to remind us we owe him some favors.
Никто его не арестовал.
и даже не побил, как иногда показывают по телевизору.
He says, what else did you want? Did you want to get arrested? He can arrange it. It's time we tell you more about Georgia. Georgia's history was charted early with one bold decision, the adoption of Christianity in the 4th century. Christianity was not a good choice politically. Georgia is but the size of West Virginia. Her generally larger neighbors, Turkey, Iran, Azerbaijan, and Dagestan, are Muslim. For centuries, they took turns attacking Georgia. Only Christian Russia could be persuaded to help, always at a steep price. Somehow, Mother Georgia survived, creed intact, a cup for friends, a sword for foes. Georgia is a beautifully rugged place with 17,000-foot mountains and raging, generally untamed rivers. Earthquakes and landslides torment a necessarily rugged people. Indeed, the name Georgia comes from a Greek word meaning lover of earth, and Georgians do love their land. They farm every arable inch. Combined with a harvest reaped from the bordering Black Sea, Georgia is the only Soviet republic capable of feeding itself. Of course, 1,000 years of warfare means fewer mouths to feed. Georgia's population of 5 million is 2/3 what it was a millennium ago. Everybody here speaks two totally unrelated tongues, Georgian and Russian. The Georgian alphabet is one of only 14 used in the world today. It appears above Russian, the official language since 1921. That was the year of the betrayal. The Red Army was permitted to enter Georgia in 1921 under a flag of truce. But once entrenched, the hammer and sickle was hoisted, the flag of independent Georgia outlawed. Against her will, Georgia became a part of the Soviet Union. Occasionally, we see pictures of Stalin, a Georgian. Georgia heeded his call to arms in World War II, and 25% of all adult males became casualties. When they don't die in wars, Georgians live a long time, an average of better than 80 years. Among the reasons we heard for such longevity, the esteem in which the elderly are regarded here, and a culture which holds dear the past and is slow to change. Even in bustling Tbilisi, population 1 million, remains of a rich history are everywhere preserved and sincerely cherished. But despite its many charms, I guarantee what will strike newcomers first, figuratively, if not literally. Traffic. An experience that screams to us, hey, you guys are in a real different place. Watch out for that Chaika and that Volga. Oh, dig this Lada roaring by in the wrong lane. Just as soon hit that Moskvich, give him an inch. And thank heavens this old buggy backs off instead of trying to squeeze right by us. Organized mayhem, or so it seems to us, yet serious accidents appear relatively rare. Here, an army truck lies on its side after colliding with a car driven by another soldier. Consensus opinion, neither driver is a local Georgian, or the accident would certainly have been avoided. Untruth remains universal in a city full of cops. Where's one when you need him? After 20 minutes, bystanders take matters into their own hands. In fact, drivers do seem willing to give each other a precious inch or two. Pedestrians get nothing but disdain. Cars are in short supply, parts impossible to get. A person with an operating vehicle feels a cut above the ground.
And my car is best car of the Tbilisi. Seriously, you know, I have nothing, but it's drive too, yeah?
Traffic adventures aside, Tbilisi has zoomed ahead of Kiev as the third most popular visitor spot in the USSR. And it's healthier by far than polluted runner-up Leningrad, friendlier by a million smiles than top attraction Moscow, and warmer than both, especially during rush hour. So how did we wind up here? Well, in May of 1988 at 11 Alive, we began to kick around the idea of a reporter's swap with our sister city, Tbilisi. It was a far-fetched idea. No such exchange had ever taken place with the Soviet Union before. I had studied Russian in the military, and the station paid for some more private lessons. And with the help of Atlanta's friendship force, miraculously, our station management pulled off the swap. And so on March 23rd of 1989, photographer Richard Crabbe and I, a guy generally described as somebody named Simeon Smith, arrived here to work for Georgian television. We have no idea what to expect. No Soviet program has more viewers than the 50-minute national nightly news. That's because every station in the country is required to air it. Translated, the title means time. In our 6 weeks, the first word spoken never changed.
Сегодня в Кремле Михаил Сергеевич Горбачев
Mikhail Sergeyevich Gorbachev. It doesn't matter what he's doing, what the world might be doing, the first secretary is always the first story. Even something like an innocuous medal ceremony might receive 12 or 15 minutes of airtime. On this rather typical Soviet news night, the next half-dozen stories are meetings. Politicians or bureaucrats discussing problems, sometimes solutions. But Soviet TV rarely takes such stories outside the meeting rooms. The theory seems to be, why show, for instance, poverty when a politician can talk about it? When stories do venture outdoors, the video is invariably amateurish by American standards, with pans and zooms and out-of-focus shots. Well, it's the stuff of home movies. American TV news went beyond this level 25 years ago. The reporters aren't very imaginative either, preferring man-on-the-street interviews to real legwork, and they love to express their own personal opinions. This war crimes defendant is more or less labeled a murderous traitor by the reporter before he's found guilty. And obviously there's censorship. During a live May Day interview, this woman expresses outrage at poor medical conditions for injured Armenian children. Suddenly, she vanishes from the screen. And lies, distortions, omissions, whenever it suits them. Elaboration later. The staple of the day's entertainment fare is the music video. They cost Soviet TV nothing. Sadly, the clips, as they're called, come mostly from the Soviet bloc and are fairly lame efforts. There's also aerobics in the morning, soccer at night, and for the kids, an occasional cartoon. Remember, most homes receive only 2 TV channels, and the programming is often the same on both. Soviet TV is not a star-making machine. Anchor persons often appear only once a week. Each maintain a professional, rather aloof attitude. Off-air, however, Nugzargagudi, for one, is invariably jovial. As one of the Georgian newscast anchors, his only job is to read. There are 2,500 other employees here to take up any slack. Some of them work very hard. Hundreds do virtually nothing. The equipment is antique. The expertise is low. The nightly news is generally taped because of frequent problems. These now are our colleagues. We hope to make them friends. This is Georgian television, our new employer.
We know who we are. We know what our advantages and disadvantages are. But it would be most interesting for the Georgian viewers to see themselves through the American eyes.
Coming up, an American in Perestroika. Our first Sunday afternoon, and the TV crew readies for Georgia's most popular weekend information and, of course, music video show. I'm preparing for it, too.
I mean, how do you say succinctly the purpose of the whole trip?
I've been directed to explain this journalist exchange. Georgian TV has yet to air a word about it. Well, I'm just not fluent enough to be extemporaneous, but I get a lot of help composing a short speech. History is made immediately. I'm the first man to ever put on makeup for Georgian TV.
Krasiva, Alex?
Oh, beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm a lovely guy.
Actually, I'm a very nervous guy.
Man, if we pull this off.
It's a scary moment because, of course, first impressions are so important. I talk about the project, thank Georgians for this opportunity, and try in some way to involve the viewers.
Так что, друзья, надеюсь на вашу помощь и терпение. Пожалуйста, будьте со мной терпеливы. Я даже не возвращаю, если вы будете над мной смеяться, даже наоборот, смейтесь побольше. Да,
It goes over pretty well. Now we can finally go out and make some pictures. Our first story takes us to a place that looks from the outside like a museum. Inside the grounds, however, is the pride of Georgian industry, the Rustavi Steelworks. My report begins like this.
Когда я был ребенком, мама рассказывала мне про ад. Я вспомнил это, увидев Руставский металлургический завод. Огонь. Кипящий металл.
We want to grab viewers with all the elements missing from reports they're used to, strong video and sound. Of course, I go on to say that this is no hell, but a place where brave men tame the firestorm to work for them. We're here to interview two steelworkers, who are also politicians. This man is retiring after 6 years as a deputy in Moscow, this district's national congressman. Next to him is the man expected to win election as his replacement. In America, I say, we usually elect lawyers to make our laws. Candidate Tomas says working men should be represented by a working man, and he's confident of doing a good job. On March 25th, the first multi-choice election in Soviet history takes place. I congratulate the people.
Никогда в Америке мы смеялись над советскими выборами. Мы можем больше не смеяться.
Tomas, wearing his one suit, wins by a landslide. Now, making this into good television won't be easy.
I can't help it. This guy looks like Stalin.
My major help for the first 2 weeks comes from Nugzaru Hadze. Nugi is the other half of this exchange. I'll help him report in Atlanta come May. And boy, do I need him now. The steelworker politicians insist on speaking Georgian, not Russian. It's a tough language.
Achal, the word achal. Achal means new. Achali means new.
Это было очень трогательно.
Without a bit of censorship, the story airs to at least one rave review.
My colleagues on television, today at the meeting this morning on the Georgian television, they said, hey, look, this is how you should do television.
We average a 6-minute story every 2 or 3 days. This one in Georgia's Caucasus Mountains is about helicopter skiing. Most Georgians are unaware this is being done. Sadly, only hard currency, dollars or German marks, is accepted. Most citizens have neither. Still, most have never seen pictures of their own mountains like this. We also focus on local Georgian kids being taught free of charge by ski experts from this vicinity. We had a lot of fun this day.
Как вам нравится моя шапка? Да или нет?
Yes.
Да?
Photographer Richard Crabbe is an avid motocross rider, so we do a story on the poorly equipped but bold Georgian moto enthusiasts. And in the mountainous Keda region, we report on some tragic landslides. People here have agreed to move, but they'll leave more than cracking homes and tortured land behind. This man's family, for instance, has been here for more than 900 years. Our most controversial report comes here at Georgia's biggest hospital. The 11th floor proctology ward isn't as grim as it looks. That's due in part to an extraordinary nurse. Manana Kukhadze is 28 and the perfect nurse for a most difficult job. We record her dressing wounds and making rounds without ever being less than professional, wonderfully kind. But quite by accident, we discover this, the ward's one toilet, a truly dreadful sight.
Everywhere. Silverfish, cockroaches, ants. We're going to have to show this.
Show it.
Well, how does that make you feel?
It'll be a great help if you show it, I think.
Really?
А те, что были очень далеки от американских стандартов, мы не могли поверить, что мы в больнице.
Some viewers call to say they like this kind of reporting. Others don't like it and wonder if the American respects Georgia. In truth, Georgians have our respect and more. We're much like early sailors exploring unknown South Sea isles. We discover a people who positively enchant our hearts. Beautiful nurse Manana is divorced with an 8-year-old, Rezo. Her sister has already left for work when we pop in to offer her a ride to the hospital. Of course, it doesn't matter that we've already eaten. Her mother, Maria, a trolley driver, goes to work in the kitchen. Papa Ivan, a construction worker, pours cha-cha, Georgian vodka. A lovely welcoming toast is made. It's 8:15 in the morning.
Okay. Все?
Да.
Oh, God.
Ivan's cha-cha is as strong as his back. She used to help build apartments like his. It's 30 years old, Khrushchev era. Maria's bathtub is the clothes washer, her balcony the dryer. The apartment is sturdy but tiny. 1 bedroom for 5 people. The place is decorated unpretentiously. Ivan proposes a toast to a world without borders. I drink from the 100-year-old family wine bowl. Believe me, we have no idea that this working man has spent 2 days' pay so that we might feel a bit special this morning.
Oh, okay.
But then we go to the market. Georgia's farmers produce more food per capita than any in the USSR. Food prices are therefore cheaper than most any place else in the country. The average citizen earns about $200 a month, and we're in the least expensive market in Georgia.
Get your peanuts. Hey, сколько стоит? Kilo.
Listen to what's considered a good buy.
1 kilo, 10 rubles.
10 rubles?
Yeah.
Georgia farmer would do good here. That's $17 a kilo, or about $8 a pound for peanuts.
We can't believe the prices of things. A chicken, $25. The same for a good cow head. Piglets are $50. No wonder the peasants are kind of friendly. Actually, after fertilizer and irrigation cost, $2 for a tomato may be a good deal. It's twice that in Moscow. And yet day after day, people meet us once and invite us to their homes. Here we're lavished with 15 and 20-course meals. They toast us with Georgia's splendid wines. And at no time is there even a hint at the enormity of the expense our host must bear. Conservatively, such feasts cost 2 months' salary. 10 days into our project, we meet an extraordinary woman from Washington State. Karen Lewis has been backpacking around the Soviet Union for nearly a year. An artist, her host often becomes subjects for her drawings. Karen, too, is smitten by Georgia.
Stay all night. Stay for a week. Come anytime. Drop in unannounced. There's always a cup of tea. There's always bread.
What is the purpose of this book?
Karen hopes to publish an illustrated book to teach American kids about the Soviet Union. She teaches us a thing or two, especially when she speaks of the independence demonstrations she recently witnessed in neighboring Azerbaijan. It seems television censorship there only worsened the situation.
And that was one of the things that the people on the square were shouting about. Why don't they show our troubles, our conflicts to the rest of the nation?
A week later, Karen Lewis's foreboding words ring in our memories as Tbilisi boils with the exact situation. Unlike Azerbaijan, however, crisis here will lead to slaughter.
Up next, nationalism and bloodshed.
Eye of the Storm is brought to you in part by Haverty's, where quality furniture is so affordable.
Long live Georgia! We first hear that cry on April 5th as we walk home to our hotel. We really don't know what's going on, but it seems like a news story. The next morning, the TV station reluctantly permits us to investigate.
Nobody knows what they think about you. Maybe they think that you are some secret service, you know?
KGB?
KGB, like KGB or something. Maybe something, some provokes, you know? And nobody can tell you and guarantee safety.
At first, the size of the crowds are intimidating. 10,000 demonstrators have gathered in front of the Republic's government house alone. But we're met with no hostility. Instead, we hear whispers. It's the Americans. An American flag even appears briefly to loud cheers. Then we find out why.
And Georgia tries to be independent and to depart from USSR and to enter so-called NATO, North Atlantic
Treaty Organization.
Secession? NATO? What's this all about? 200 or so students make up the conscience of this movement. They've pledged a 14-day hunger strike. Most are Georgians from Abkhazia, 300 miles to the west. Abkhazia has been a part of Georgia for centuries. Its population is 80% Georgian. But minority Abkhazians charging Georgia with civil rights violations once the region made a separate republic. And some Russian politicians publicly support the Abkhazian demand. Tbilisi is galvanized by what it sees as Moscow's interference. Many Georgians say now is the time to end 68 years of involuntary servitude to the Soviet Union.
We are not against Russian people. We are not against any people. We are for the friendship between the peoples of the Soviet Union, but we want to be independent.
Georgian TV photographers are here too. But later, the television chairman sends us all the same edict. No demonstration news will be broadcast tonight. April 7th, the last day of sanity. Though maybe even now it's too late to avoid the coming tragedy. Overnight, a group of mostly college students have laid claim to the front of the TV station. Throughout the day, hundreds join them, many just kids. The leaders here radiate a contagious confidence. The arrival of the troops doesn't deter anybody. They aren't very intimidating. Young men in their first year of service stationed just outside of town. 28 nationalities on one bus. Soon, they'll be replaced. Things are still so loose, we interview a Russian major.
Why is he here? Почему вы здесь?
Насчет выхода из Советского Союза, по-моему, это решение некомпетентное.
His words are firm, but off camera he tells us he's been in Georgia a long time and no, the demonstrators are not completely in the wrong. Probably what's happening behind the television station has more to do with determining our individual fates than anything else. Many of the employees essential to keeping the station running have left their post. An engineer demands a strike and the TV chairman's head for ordering the censorship.
We are journalists. Isn't it possible for us to have freedom of speech? At a meeting with the party secretary, he said, "Tell the truth." And what happened? Our television chairman walked out. Replace him. Go on strike. We must have the truth.
An hour later, we're told to prepare a story.
We hear from the army man twice, 2 times.
Why don't you want to comment on it?
It's not my job. I'm only to report.
If the rest of the thing is your job, why?
I truly believe most everybody concerned wants us to get as much information in our report as possible, but it can't be so provocative the chairman won't let it air at all. We reluctantly agree not to show any protest signs or even run interviews with demonstration leaders, but we tell them we won't say anything that might distort the truth.
Is it okay with Mark?
This is our report. Tbilisi,
Происходит нечто, и оно нарастает, кажется.
I do think we tell the Republic of Georgia fully what's been happening. The story runs 5 minutes, and we show almost everything you've seen so far. Our next concern is to somehow get all of this news to America. We persuade a Georgian communist to take the tape to Moscow and the NBC bureau there. He tells us later his flight is delayed for hours by Army transports flying in. They're not like the other troops. These are men who've seen action in Afghanistan, crack soldiers, members of the VV, the Internal Security Forces. Killers. These are pictures made this day, April 8th, by Georgian Eldar Shingalaya, a woman's rally for independence. Our own camera is locked up when we arrive at the station. With bayonets in place, the Army orders Georgian TV to send us to Moscow. But the chairman stays home, never to return to his job. A brave replacement tells us we'll be secretly evacuated to another Georgian town, Batumi, before dawn the next day. All that night, both at the TV station and at the government house, people gather by the thousands. They sing traditional Georgian folk songs and tell each other freedom is close at hand. At 4 a.m., now April 9th, the Archbishop of the Georgian Church arrives at the government house. In seconds, the huge throng silences. The bishop says the troops are coming. Please come to the church or disperse. No, they answer. God is on our side. The bishop says no more. The people bow and pray the Lord's Prayer. At precisely this time, we're in our hotel waiting to be hustled away to Batumi. As the troops come pouring out of the sports arena next door, Richard shoots still photos. The soldiers fill the square in front of us. Hammering their shields with clubs and shovels, they begin to charge down the hill to the TV station 300 meters away. We hear demonstration leaders call for calm, and then we hear the screams. Perhaps because they fear TV coverage, the troops kill no one at the TV station. Scores of demonstrators are beaten, many seriously. No one inside the station shoots a single frame of film. At the government house, however, filmmaker Shingalaya's camera is running. The army is also attacking there. His camera catches little more than panic and chaos. But eyewitnesses tell us later what's happening.
This wasn't just an effort to break up a demonstration, but to massacre as many people as they could. Soldiers circled demonstrators and killed mostly women. Those who broke out of this circle were chased and killed.
I saw some soldiers running at us with shawls. Their war cry was, "Kill the Georgians, they are Stalinists." But what crime have Georgians done that they don't like us? Why these war cries? Why did they kill my best friend? Why? Okay, we had posters and banners, but what did we do so bad that they must kill us?
The official death toll this night, 16. 14 women, 2 men. But two things are surprising. Though some of the corpses look badly beaten, others show barely a scratch. And the other macabre oddity, there aren't nearly as many bodies as most demonstrators say there should be. Later, even when the official death toll is raised to 20, we are mobbed by people who say there are many more dead than that. We meet an American who's been studying in Tbilisi for 4 years.
So you believe there's more than 20 dead?
A lot more. That's a lie. That's a fantasy. I wish there was only 20 dead. There's no way. Not only 20.
What would be a better guess, Ron?
Up to 100, at least. At least 100. I've seen the reports on the walls and everything else. It's written in Georgian, all the people, the names of the people are missing. And those people are missing not just because they're missing, they're gone. Nobody will find them anymore.
Why are they saying only 18 died?
Soldiers circled demonstrators and killed mostly women.
Soldiers came with shovels in their hands and began killing.
Why did they kill my best friend?
Reports of the massacre spread like wildfire and precede us to Batumi. April 11th. All of Georgia mourns for the dead of April 9th. Not only are the dead remembered, but so is their cause. We're stuck 370 Ks from Tbilisi, and it's how else are we going to tell this story? We're the only Western journalist in Georgia. We feel obligated to explain to the world what's happened. But our tape to NBC Moscow was intercepted at the airport and held for 9 days.
That the people were either sitting должен загрязнять природу.
While awaiting the end to martial law in Tbilisi, we make a 20-minute documentary on pollution. A huge benzene factory is filling the Black Sea with oil. Two things stand out about this period. One, the bonds we make with our Tbilisi crew that's accompanied us to Batumi. Gogi, our wonderfully mad and loyal driver. Gia, our translator and guru. Young Alec, who volunteers an account of the TV station beatings, though it might mean his career there or worse. And Sasha, who is, well, just Sasha. We are all so far from our families. In Atlanta, Channel 11 fights the Soviet telephone system and manages several times to bring us news from America, and twice the precious sounds of our wives' voices. And then on the night of my 42nd birthday, the other standout occurs.
Oh, the news just came on.
It's April 14th, and suddenly Georgian television begins broadcasting the truth. Foreign Minister Edvard Shevardnadze, a Georgian, calls the massacre a stab in the back of perestroika. Live hearings are aired. The death toll is questioned. Someone raises the specter of chemical weapons. A new Republic leader replaces his disgraced predecessor. Georgian TV shows tape of workers demanding that he get to the bottom of these killings. The tape is clumsily presented, but that seems so insignificant now. And then on April 17th, we're told to come back to Tbilisi and help TV there tell the story.
On the night of March 5th, 1956, a large crowd gathered here in Tbilisi's Stalin Square to observe the anniversary of the death of the dictator. This violated a recent ban by Nikita Khrushchev against all Stalinist activities. And when the crowd reappeared the following night, Khrushchev sent in troops. On the night of March 9th, those troops opened fire on the demonstrators. They killed 80. They wounded hundreds more. Georgians say the next day you could hear a fly land in Tbilisi. It was that quiet. Reaction to this year's April 9th massacre was far different.
We find the capital still in shock. It's not just the memory of those who died that torments them so. But 2 weeks later, people are still mysteriously dying. The hospitals are full of patients who describe a different kind of attack on April 9th.
They hit me here. I tried to cover and protect some girls. Then someone kicked me in the stomach. The soldiers began beating me. I tried to escape, but one sprayed something in my face and I immediately passed out.
Doctors say there's little they can do to help.
We feel helpless. We want to know what this chemical gas really is, but no one will tell us. The army must know, but it does not say a word, so we have no antidote.
The army does indeed refuse to give the weapons formula. The general in charge maintains no chemical was even used. Meanwhile, in Moscow, the national news thoroughly distorts the truth. It reports that demonstrators trampled each other to death, or it was the Georgians who attacked the military. And on this night, a report that autopsies have definitely confirmed chemical weapons were not used in Tbilisi. These false reports so infuriate the Georgian health minister that he says national newscasters should be arrested. Yes, of course, he says a chemical weapon was used.
More than 1,000 people have been affected. Tens of them are in severe condition. There are even deadly cases. You don't have to be a specialist to judge whether this was a good or a bad gas.
Russian denials concerning the chemical weapon mean countless more will be affected by it. The plaza where the massacre took place becomes a memorial of sorts. More than 1 million flowers are laid here. Under them, the chemical lies active and dangerous. Nearly 3 weeks after the army attack, the number of people suffering poison symptoms actually grows. Health officials finally figure it out. This area must be cleaned. But removing the flowers now violates Georgia's traditional 40-day mourning period. The militia saved many lives on April 9th, and reluctantly protesters obey them now and disperse. It's too late for some. 30 of them are hospitalized this night with chemical poisoning. At last, Moscow investigators, Russians, speak out.
We demand a public hearing for those who gave the order to use the chemical weapon and the clubs and shovels against peaceful demonstrators. We demand public hearing for those who carried out the monstrous order and for those who are concealing the formula for the chemical weapon. The guilty should be punished.
But damage to Russian-Georgian friendship is severe. Statues representing the bonds between the Soviet state and the Georgian Republic become figures of scorn. The Georgian government orders them removed. As with many such episodes, ours is the only camera present. But now, Georgian TV broadcasts everything we shoot. Georgian Easter, April 30th. Tbilisi's 6th century Sioni church is a crush of humanity. Most people have been standing for hours, some with their animals to be blessed. Until this year, only those who manage a place within the church can witness 1,600 years of Georgian Christian tradition. But now a miracle of sorts. Georgian television is for the first time ever broadcasting the service live to the entire republic. Something truly profound has been happening to our television station.
Very often, before the tragedy, we were telling lies. We told lies because we could not overcome the tradition of denying our people the truth.
Zaza Daraseli replaced the old TV chairman the day before the massacre. It was then the army ordered us out of the TV building and out of Georgia. It was Daraseli who kept us inside the republic, and he who brought us back to Tbilisi to contribute to the truth-telling.
We understood that after April 9th, if we continued being silent, we could not go into the streets and look into the eyes of our fellow citizens. That is what really happened to us.
Backbone seems the order of the day. In a small room on the outskirts of town, leaders of 4 anti-communist parties gather. They're determined to form a united coalition to free Georgia. I ask them if they aren't afraid of arrest or worse. Our final days are not totally consumed with news about the massacre aftermath. Sheep and a sheep herder. Each weekend, the roads leading to town fill with shepherds, their flocks, their dogs. A plump ewe can be turned into some of the country's most popular dishes. But even when slaughtered at home, shoppers are dismayed to learn the price of a sheep has doubled in 1 month to $60 or $70. Food shortages are still a real problem. During martial law, peasants who provide so much produce were barred from the city. Now families still get by on little more than bread. Bakers work many extra hours, exhausting a month's supply of flour in days. A loaf sells for about $2, though these men say they could get much more. Some people no doubt do profit during these chaotic times. This man receives hourly offers for his flowers. People wish to lay them at funerals or memorial sites. But the man says Georgia also needs reminders that life goes on, and he won't sell his roses at any price.
Then, Simeon, we have a lot of mineral water. This is open, you know, it's going in ground, you know, and here's a river, it's our ugly name.
In fact, many of our friends look to the future optimistically.
Maybe we can find a way, you know, to exploit this water.
And so
I think so that very beautiful resort is possible to build here, you know, maybe.
We agree to help interest America in Georgia's many natural wonders.
Да здравствует 1 мая, день международной солидарности трудящихся! Ура!
May Day was to be our last work day. In Moscow, indeed in the whole communist world as always, day-long celebrations are staged. Soviet television broadcast highlights from a dozen countries. Georgian TV closes for the day, for Georgia has canceled all May Day activities. So instead of parades, we spend our final shooting day in the little park we first showed you. Here, with no more deadlines, we relax and savor the same feeling of safety the children have, for we are going home.
We came here with a rather snobbish attitude of teaching these folks how to do good television. Instead, they learned themselves and reminded us that good television is truth television. Let's hope they remember it when the Republic government stops being so cooperative with them. And finally, we'd like you to know that we love this country. We leave you with favorite words of its people and anyone who's ever arrived here as a guest. Sakartvelo Gomerjus. Long live Georgia. This is Simeon Smith, 11 Alive News, Tbilisi, Georgia.
Amnesty International and others report that unofficially 60 people died in the Tbilisi massacre. 4,000 more were injured, most from gas poisoning. Physicians for Human Rights identified the chemical weapon used in Tbilisi as chloropicrin, a World War I gas later specifically banned by the Geneva Convention. A U.S. Senate resolution condemning the use of chemical weapons in Soviet Georgia failed when only 5 senators agreed to sign it.